What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with another video. It's almost time for Money in the Bank, which means it's time for some qualifying matches as well as the usually hastily booked segments the WWE Universe has come to expect. Join us now as we look at this week's edition of the Red Brand, as well as the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including more details on Jeff Hardy's DUI arrest, Jeff Hardy removed, is WWE taking the belt off Roman Reigns, Reby Sky mocks her brother-in-law Jeff Hardy, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Also check out Wrestlelamia.co.uk and a non-wrestling channel, Incredible. As always, we won't recap the matches, but just look at the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. As always, we start off with the good is number 1, keep the title. Becky Lynch made a strong statement last night, demolishing Dana Brooke and adding insult to injury by telling the current 24/7 champion she can keep her title. Some fans may grumble that Lynch buried the title, but the title's been a comedy belt since its introduction. This was all about Big Time Bex's frustration over her inability to recapture the Raw Women's Championship and the beginning of her road back to the top. Lynch's longing for her championship could be a sensational storyline if it's handled right, as she either shows an even more ruthless style, or even eventually gets back to basics and turns babyface. Number 2, an instant classic in the making. Now, the 20th June Raw could be one of the greatest moments in live television, as Ezekiel promised his brother Elias is returning to the WWE for a concert. While some Zeke freaks are taking Ezekiel at his word that he really is Elias' younger brother, if you do, you might need some help, others are a bit skeptical. Naturally, they're hoping to see both brothers in the same room so they can put the Ezekiel-Elias controversy to rest. The segment should be funny, as the WWE will likely find a way to leave fans guessing, and more importantly Kevin Owens, as to whether Ezekiel is really Elias. In fact, WWE should just even go one step further and bring Damien Sandow back as Elias' double. Have them in the ring together. That would be incredible. Number 3, good for Gable, but awful for Ali. Money in the Bank qualifiers are a good way to make an otherwise meaningless match seem special, as seen with Chad Gable taking on Mustafa Ali for a spot in the men's ladder match. The match was exciting and a reminder of how talented both stars are. Unfortunately, it was also a reminder that Gable is still considered someone worth pushing, while Ali's chief function is to put people over. Number 4, a terrific tease. And last night's Raw featured one of those brief bits that exemplifies the saying, less is more. The brief exchange between Becky Lynch and Alexa Bliss, as Becky was walking to the back and Alexa was walking to the front, was fantastic, as it teased an eventual confrontation between the two. This was foreshadowing at its best and a sign that Raw is improving with its storytelling. Number 5, Seth Rollins can't lose. Seth Rollins vs AJ Styles was an instant classic, with Rollins proving he can't have a bad match, and that when he's in the squared circle with a big bout machine like AJ Styles, fans can expect something magical. Seth is Raw's top heel, so it makes sense to have him defeat AJ, and the Visionary is now the odds-on favourite for this year's Money in the Bank. Rollins continues to excel as a heel, whether it's in ring or in segments, such as a sit-down interview where he called Cody Rhodes a virus and that he was dedicating his Money in the Bank match to Cody. Like Chris Jericho, Rollins knows how to keep himself fresh by changing up his character, whether it's the Monday Night Messiah or his current role as the maniacal Visionary. Number 6, more Morgan and Bliss please. Liv Morgan and Alexa Bliss make a good team, and it's a team that the WWE needs to keep together. Morgan and Bliss have had some good runs in different tag teams, and this pairing is a no-brainer. The two have a good chemistry too, and they also give off a vibe that they're having fun in the ring. Whether or not Morgan finds success in the singles ranks remains to be seen, but this team could help her succeed in that respect as she learns more alongside Bliss. If nothing else, it's a good team to enliven the WWE's women's tag team division, and even if they scrap its tag titles for now, there's always room for tag team matches in feuds or just a filler spot on television. But that was the good. What about the bad? Is number 1, an awful ending. Do pose-offs ever work? For a moment, we thought that Vince McMahon was using the Bobby Lashley vs. Theory pose-off as a way to renew fans' interest in his defunct World Bodybuilding Federation. If nothing else, he can unload the Ico Pro nutrition supplements sitting in a warehouse somewhere. Whatever Vince's vision is, the pose-off was a segment that belonged in the middle of the show, as it was more predictable than a contract signing segment. It didn't help that Lashley stood on the podium for what seemed like an eternity waiting for Theory to attack him. Number 2, the right match at the wrong time. Now, the Veer Mahaan vs Rey Mysterio match was an example of how certain matches belong on certain shows. Veer vs Mahaan accomplished everything the WWE could have expected, with Rey putting Veer over as a monster, even to the point of Mysterio tapping out in seconds to Mahaan's finisher. The problem here was that it was a type of match that belonged at a premium event, as it would have given more people a chance to see Veer's dominance, and do so at an event that means more than regular television. And number 3, changing Riddle's theme. Why does the WWE feel the need to change wrestlers' themes? Fans know that sometimes it helps when a wrestler turns or has a new gimmick, but in Riddle's case, neither applies and his previous theme was good. If the WWE wants a wrestler to have a new theme, it needs to make sure the new theme is at least good and hopefully better than the previous one. Now, there was nothing downright ugly about last night's show, as the WWE produced a number of solid matches and interesting segments as it prepared fans for Money in the Bank in this Friday's Riddle vs Reigns match. They wisely kept the Judgment Day segment short, as it's clear that the creative is still trying to work out the group's new direction. What do you guys think of Raw last night? Let us know in the comments down below. Now let's move on to the news. Now first we looks at more details on Jeff Hardy's DUI arrest. Atop the news is a police report containing more details on Jeff Hardy's DUI arrest. ESPN's Mark Raimondi tweeted some of the details saying, per the Florida Highway Patrol arrest on Jeff Hardy, a white car was seen swerving and running off the road Monday around 12:30 AM. When the officer made a traffic stop and engaged Hardy, the wrestler seemed to be in a stupor and confused, per the report. According to the police report, Jeff was in terrible shape. Once he left his car, Hardy was unsteady and smelled of alcohol, per the report. Officers through conversation learned Hardy had been drinking. Hardy could not complete any portion of sobriety exercises successfully or without risk of falling, the officer wrote in the report. As for how intoxicated Jeff allegedly was, officer had administered a breath test and Hardy's first example read a 0.294 of a blood alcohol content. A second sample read 0.291. The legal limit to drive in Florida is 0.08. Next up, Jeff Hardy to be removed. Jeff Hardy's arrest has reportedly led to Warner Media ordering AEW to take strong measures concerning Jeff's presence in AEW. Jeff has been removed from the ladder match on AEW's programming on AEW Dynamite this Wednesday, but while AEW has not said anything publicly, Warner Media was to stop all promotion of Jeff Hardy in any commercials or anywhere else immediately. As we discussed on our website, AEW doesn't want to do anything to upset Warner Media, especially when it comes time for renegotiating its TV rights deal. Next up, Matt Hardy's ironic comments. Matt Hardy's recent comments about the previously scheduled Hardys vs Young Bucks vs Jurassic Express ladder match is raising eyebrows. Here's what Matt had to say about the bout before Jeff was arrested for DUI. As long as Jeff clears, is medically cleared, which I think he's gonna clear, okay, we really want to go out and tear the house down in this three-way ladder match and become the AEW World Tag Team Champions. If we do that, we're going to be the first tag team in pro wrestling history to hold the major world tag team titles in 4 different decades. Now you think Jeff's family has got his back? Well, not the case, as Matt Hardy's wife Reby Hardy mocked her brother-in-law. Matt's wife Reby, who's been anything but a Jeff Hardy apologist, posted a TikTok video where she seems to make a light of Jeff's current woes. Predictably, fans have blasted Reby for her video, but as usual, she doesn't seem to care. And finally, WWE considering a championship change for Roman? Could the WWE be contemplating a change of champions when it comes to the Undisputed Championship? Well, Dave Meltzer seems to think so and discussed the situation on recent Wrestling Observer Radio. The thing is, given the lack of depth and everything like that, the idea of Seth as champion going into next year and Cody coming back to challenge Seth, that is a story, but I don't know what's going to happen. The thing with the championship now with Roman is that he's around some, but he's not around a lot, and this making one champion now, and then Roman, making his deal where he's never around is kind of weak when it comes to the championship, The problem is that Reigns hasn't been around much, and there's doubts as to whether he'll return to premium live events in television. A recent report even suggested that Reigns is only going to be on one episode of Raw during the whole of the summer. Now the main problem is that Reigns is the undisputed champion, which means he's the champion of both brands. The only time Reigns is going to be on Raw is the Raw from Madison Square Garden. That's his only Raw booking. The only time the champion will be on Raw pretty much the whole summer. Do you think WWE might pull a title switch until Reigns is back on a regular basis? Let us know in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.